My fiancée got a tattoo on her inner thigh. Said it was for me. I Googled the date. It was the night she spent at her ex's bachelor party. The shower steam had barely cleared when I noticed the delicate script inked across her inner thigh. Elena emerged from the bathroom wrapped in my oversized towel, droplets still clinging to her shoulders. She caught me staring and smiled, that particular smile she reserved for moments when she thought she had surprised me with something wonderful. She lifted the edge of the towel slightly, revealing the fresh tattoo in elegant cursive lettering. The date read April 15th, 2024, accompanied by a small infinity symbol. The skin around it was still tender, the telltale signs of recent work evident in the slight redness and the way she moved to avoid the fabric brushing against it. Elena explained that she had gotten it done as a surprise for our upcoming wedding, claiming it commemorated the night we first said we loved each other. Her eyes sparkled as she recounted how she had endured the pain because she wanted something permanent to mark our relationship. She spoke about how the tattoo artist had been so understanding of the romantic gesture, how she had planned this for weeks as her special gift to commemorate our bond. But something felt wrong. The date gnawed at me throughout the evening as we prepared dinner together. Elena moved around the kitchen with unusual care, favoring her left leg slightly. She explained away every wince as excitement about showing me her surprise. Her enthusiasm seemed genuine, yet something about her explanation felt rehearsed, as though she had practiced these words before speaking them to me. That night, after Elena fell asleep beside me, I retrieved my phone and began scrolling through our text messages from April. My heart started racing as I traced backward through our conversations. April 15th was not the night we first exchanged those three crucial words. That moment had occurred in February, during a weekend trip to the mountains when snow had trapped us in a cabin and we spent hours talking by the fireplace. April 15th was something else entirely. It was the night Elena had told me she was staying home with a headache while I attended my work conference in Seattle. She had sent me several texts throughout the evening, complaining about feeling unwell and saying she was going to bed early. But now, staring at that date permanently etched into her skin, I realized she had been somewhere else that night. Somewhere significant enough to warrant a permanent reminder. The realization hit me like a physical blow. I lay in the darkness beside her sleeping form, watching the gentle rise and fall of her breathing, while my mind raced through possibilities. Elena had always been meticulous about dates and anniversaries. She kept a detailed calendar and never confused important moments in our relationship. The fact that she had gotten the date wrong was not a simple mistake. As I continued scrolling through our messages from that period, more inconsistencies emerged. Her texts from April 15th had been unusually brief and formal, lacking the warmth and detail she typically included when describing her day. She had claimed to be watching a movie I later discovered had not been available on streaming platforms until weeks later. The address she had given for a pharmacy where she supposedly bought headache medicine led to a location that had been permanently closed since March. I began examining her behavior in the days following April 15th, searching for any clues I might have overlooked. Elena had been unusually affectionate and attentive, cooking elaborate meals and initiating conversations about our future together. At the time, I had attributed this to excitement about our engagement, but now it felt like overcompensation for something she was hiding. The physical evidence became more apparent once I knew what to look for. Elena had returned from that evening wearing different perfume than usual, something floral and expensive that lingered on her clothing even after washing. Her phone had mysteriously developed battery problems that required frequent charging, though it had been working perfectly before that date. She had also started carrying breath mints constantly, claiming she was concerned about coffee breath during important meetings. Her social media activity during that period revealed another layer of deception. While she had claimed to be homesick, her location services showed she had been active in downtown areas throughout the evening. Her fitness tracker, which she usually wore religiously, had mysteriously stopped recording data for several hours during the time she claimed to be resting in bed. The most disturbing realization was how effortlessly she had maintained the lie. Elena had answered my check-in calls from Seattle with perfect composure, even making convincing sounds of discomfort and fatigue. She had researched symptoms of the headache she was pretending to have, mentioning specific details about light sensitivity and nausea that made her performance entirely believable. I spent the following week conducting my own investigation while maintaining the facade of an excited groom-to-be. Every compliment I offered about her tattoo felt like swallowing glass, but I needed to understand what had really happened on April 15th before confronting her about the deception. The first breakthrough came through social media. Elena rarely posted personal content, but her friends were not as cautious. I discovered that her college roommate, Sophia, had shared several photos from what appeared to be a party on April 15th. The images showed Elena wearing a tight black dress I had never seen before, surrounded by people I did not recognize. Her smile in these photos was different from the one she usually wore with me, more intense, more abandoned. One photo in particular made my blood run cold. Elena was dancing closely with a tall man whose face was partially obscured by shadows and the angle of the shot. Her body language suggested an intimacy that went far beyond friendly celebration. The timestamp on the photo showed 11:47 p.m., approximately the same time she had texted me goodnight claiming she was already in bed with a migraine. Further investigation revealed that the party was a bachelor celebration for someone named Alex Chun, though the details of his relationship to Elena remained unclear through social media alone. The location appeared to be an upscale apartment downtown, based on the city skyline visible through the windows in several photos. Elena appeared in at least 6 different shots throughout the evening, each one showing her more relaxed and animated than the last. I began paying closer attention to Elena's behavior and discovered a pattern of small deceptions I had previously overlooked. Phone calls she would take in another room, explaining them as work-related discussions that ran long. Weekend errands that seemed to take much longer than necessary, with vague explanations about traffic or unexpected delays. A new workout routine that required her to leave the house at unusual hours when her regular gym was closed. The most disturbing discovery came when I accessed our shared phone plan online. The call logs revealed extensive communication with a number I did not recognize, including several lengthy conversations that had occurred during times when Elena claimed to be busy with work or family obligations. The pattern of calls stretched back nearly 4 months, beginning shortly after we had announced our engagement to our families. When I traced the number through a reverse lookup service, it led me to Alex Chun, a marketing executive who lived in the downtown area where the bachelor party had taken place. His social media profiles revealed that he had recently ended a long-term relationship and was in the process of planning a move to another city for a new job opportunity. More importantly, his photos showed him with Elena at various locations around the city, images that had been carefully cropped or angled to avoid clearly showing her face, but unmistakably featuring her distinctive jewelry and clothing. The digital trail became more extensive as I dug deeper into their connection. Elena's credit card statements, which I accessed through our shared financial accounts, revealed charges at restaurants and venues that corresponded with Alex's social media check-ins. She had been meeting him regularly for expensive dinners and entertainment events, using the joint credit card we had established for wedding expenses to fund these encounters. Her calendar app, which we had synchronized to coordinate our schedules, showed appointments labeled as client meetings or yoga classes that lasted much longer than typical business meetings or workout sessions. When I cross-referenced these appointments with her phone location data, they consistently led to Alex's neighborhood or venues where they had been photographed together. The deception extended to her professional life as well. Elena had been claiming overtime hours at her marketing firm that her colleagues later confirmed had never occurred. She had been using these fabricated work obligations as cover for extended periods away from our shared apartment. Her supervisor had actually been concerned about Elena's decreased productivity and wondered if the stress of wedding planning was affecting her job performance. I discovered that Elena had created elaborate backstories for her absences, complete with fake client names and fictional project details. She had researched industry terminology and current market trends to make her explanations believable when I asked about her work. The level of preparation required for these deceptions suggested she had been planning this double life for months. Financial records revealed even more disturbing patterns. Elena had been withdrawing cash regularly from our joint savings account, always in amounts small enough to avoid triggering automatic notifications, but large enough to fund expensive outings. When questioned about these withdrawals, she had provided explanations about needing cash for tips, parking meters, or small purchases that seemed reasonable individually but collectively represented thousands of dollars. Her browser history, which I accessed from our shared laptop, showed extensive research into relationship advice websites and forums about emotional affairs. She had been reading articles about maintaining long-distance relationships and managing guilt about infidelity. Most disturbing were the forum posts she had made under an anonymous username, describing her situation and asking for advice about whether to leave her stable relationship for someone who offered more excitement but less security. Armed with evidence, but hoping for an explanation that would preserve our relationship, I decided to give Elena an opportunity to tell me the truth. I approached the conversation as though I had accidentally discovered something innocent, suggesting that I had seen her in some photos online and was curious about the event she had attended. Elena's immediate reaction confirmed my worst fears. Her face drained of color, and she began stammering through an explanation that contradicted itself within minutes. First, She claimed she had forgotten about the small gathering she had attended that night because she had felt so unwell. Then she insisted that she had mentioned it to me, but I must have forgotten due to the stress of my work conference. When I pressed for details about who had hosted the event, Elena became increasingly defensive. She accused me of not trusting her and questioned why I was investigating her activities like a detective pursuing a criminal. Her indignation seemed designed to shift the focus away from her deception and onto my supposedly unreasonable behavior as a suspicious partner. The conversation escalated when I mentioned Alex Chun by name. Elena's composure completely crumbled, and she began crying uncontrollably, but her tears felt manipulative rather than genuine. She confessed that she had been attending Alex's farewell gatherings because they had been friends in college, and she wanted to maintain that connection before he moved away. She swore that nothing inappropriate had occurred between them. But then I showed her the photos I had found, particularly the one of her dancing intimately with Alex. Elena stared at the image for a long moment before her entire demeanor changed. The tears stopped, and she looked at me with something approaching contempt. She told me that she had gotten the tattoo to commemorate the night she realized she was settling for a safe but passionless relationship with me. The revelation that followed destroyed everything I thought I knew about our relationship. Elena explained that she had been involved with Alex for months, conducting an emotional and physical affair that had intensified as our wedding date approached. The bachelor party had been a farewell celebration before Alex moved to San Francisco, and Elena had gotten the tattoo that night as a permanent reminder of their connection. She described how Alex understood her in ways I never had, how their conversations lasted for hours while ours had become routine and predictable. She talked about feeling alive with him in a way that our stable, comfortable relationship had never provided. The tattoo represented not just a date, but a moment when she had chosen passion over security, even knowing it would end when Alex relocated for his career. As Elena spoke, the full scope of her emotional betrayal became clear. She had been comparing every aspect of our relationship to her experiences with Alex, finding our interactions lacking in excitement and spontaneity. She had convinced herself that our engagement was a mistake, but had continued with wedding planning because she feared the social and financial consequences of calling off the ceremony. The most painful revelation was her admission that she had been intimate with Alex multiple times, including in our shared apartment while I was traveling for work. She had brought him into our bedroom, the space where we had planned our future together, and had been physically unfaithful in the most sacred area of our relationship. She described these encounters in clinical terms, as though discussing business transactions rather than the complete violation of our commitment. Elena revealed that she had been documenting our arguments and disagreements, sharing them with Alex as evidence that our relationship was fundamentally flawed. She had been building a case against me in her private conversations, portraying me as emotionally unavailable and incompatible with her needs for adventure and spontaneity. Every mundane moment of our daily life together had been twisted into proof that we were wrong for each other. The financial deception became even more extensive during our confrontation. Elena admitted to using our joint accounts to purchase gifts for Alex, including expensive clothing and electronics that she had claimed were business expenses or charitable donations. She had been systematically stealing from our shared resources to fund her affair, using money we had saved for our future home to support her emotional and physical relationship with another man. Perhaps most devastating was her admission that she had never intended for the affair to end when Alex moved away. She had been helping him secure a local position through her professional connections, using her network to ensure he would remain in the city where they could continue their relationship. The entire narrative about his relocation had been fabricated to provide cover for their ongoing affair. What Elena did not reveal during our confrontation was the full extent of her deception and the web of lies she had constructed around our entire relationship. The truth emerged over the following weeks through a combination of my continued investigation and Elena's gradual breakdown, as the pressure of maintaining her double life became unbearable. Alex had not moved to San Francisco as planned. Instead, he had accepted a position with a local consulting firm, a decision that Elena had influenced through her connections in the business community. She had been helping him establish himself professionally while simultaneously planning our wedding, using her access to my business network to further his career prospects. The financial implications became clear when I examined our joint accounts and discovered that Elena had been systematically transferring money to cover Alex's expenses during his job transition. She had used funds we had designated for wedding expenses and our future home down payment to support his lifestyle while he established himself in his new position. The amounts were not enormous individually, but together they represented thousands of dollars of our shared savings. Elena's friends and family members began reaching out to me as news of our situation spread through our social circles. Sophia revealed that Elena had been planning to leave me after our wedding, believing that a brief marriage would provide her with better financial security and social standing while she transitioned to a life with Alex. Several other mutual acquaintances admitted they had suspected something was wrong, but had not wanted to interfere in our relationship. The most devastating revelation came from Alex himself, who contacted me after learning about our confrontation through Elena. He explained that Elena had told him our engagement was essentially over and that we were only maintaining appearances for family reasons until after the holidays. She had convinced him that I was aware of their relationship and had agreed to an amicable separation following a brief marriage that would satisfy our family's expectations. Alex seemed genuinely shocked to learn that I had been completely unaware of their affair and that Elena had been actively planning our wedding while conducting their relationship. He shared text messages and emails that showed Elena describing our relationship as a business arrangement rather than a romantic partnership. She had portrayed me as someone who valued stability and social status over genuine connection, someone who would be ultimately grateful for a graceful exit from what she characterized as a mutually unsatisfying situation. The investigation also revealed that Elena had been documenting our private conversations and sharing them with Alex as evidence of my supposed emotional unavailability. She had recorded arguments we had about wedding planning and shared them as proof that I was difficult and controlling. These recordings had been taken without my knowledge and shared as entertainment rather than legitimate concerns about our relationship. When confronted with the evidence of her elaborate deception, Elena finally admitted the full scope of her betrayal. She had been living a completely fabricated life for months, maintaining our relationship as a cover while building a future with Alex. She had planned to use our marriage as a stepping stone to financial independence before transitioning to her preferred relationship, believing that I would eventually discover the truth and grant her a favorable divorce settlement. The aftermath of Elena's betrayal extended far beyond the end of our relationship. The wedding cancellation resulted in significant financial losses for both families, as deposits for venues, catering, and services had to be forfeited or negotiated down to partial refunds. Our social circle was permanently fractured as friends were forced to choose sides and navigate the awkward social dynamics created by Elena's deception. Elena's professional reputation suffered considerably when her colleagues learned about her elaborate personal deceptions. Several business relationships she had cultivated were damaged when people realized she had been using her engagement to me as a networking tool while secretly planning to dissolve the relationship. Her credibility in professional settings was compromised by questions about her honesty and reliability. Alex ended their relationship within weeks of learning the truth about Elena's manipulations. He realized that if she was capable of such extensive deception towards someone she had claimed to love, she could easily deceive him in similar ways. He transferred to his company's Denver office to distance himself from the situation and avoid any further complications with Elena or her social circle. Elena attempted to salvage her reputation by claiming that our relationship had been emotionally abusive and that her affair had been a desperate attempt to find happiness in an impossible situation. However, the evidence of her premeditated deception and financial manipulation undermined her credibility with mutual friends and family members who had witnessed our relationship dynamics firsthand. I retained the engagement ring and wedding deposits that were recoverable, using the funds to relocate to a different city where I could rebuild my life without constant reminders of Elena's betrayal. The experience taught me to pay closer attention to inconsistencies in future relationships and to trust my instincts when something feels wrong rather than explaining away obvious red flags. Elena eventually moved to another state, though whether she relocated voluntarily or due to social pressure from the fallout of her actions remains unclear. The permanent tattoo she had gotten to commemorate her deception became a lasting reminder of the consequences of elaborate lies and the damage that betrayal inflicts on everyone involved in such situations. And that's the story. If you're still here, that means you're one of us. So go ahead, hit that subscribe button. I drop new chaos every single day, and trust me, tomorrow's story, it's even worse than this one.